Picture this, it's just after 12 p.m. on a normal Tuesday in the busy South London suburb of Bexley. People are at work or running errands, completely unaware what is about to rain down from the sky. High above them, a freight train is thundering down the line, but something is wrong. A catastrophic failure is moments away. This was the scene on the 4th of February 1987, when a 19-wagon freight train was ripped apart. Its rear wagons plunged from an 8-metre high viaduct, crossing the workshops below. 4 people were seriously injured, the railway line was obliterated, and a major London transport route was severed. But how could a disaster of this scale happen on such a routine journey? This wasn't a freak accident. It was a perfect storm of ignored warnings and corporate negligence that were about to collide at over 50 miles per hour. To understand what happened, we need to follow the train on its final journey. The train was service 6 Yankee 56, a heavy freight service operated by English, Welsh and Scottish Railways, otherwise known as EWS. The traction up front were 2 Class 37 locomotives, numbers 37167 and 37220, followed by 19 wagons loaded with heavy spotted ballast, having been dug up from a track renewal project down in Sussex. Its destination was the EWS yard at Hoo Junction in Kent. A routine run, the train crew was a driver and trainman from Connect South Central, hired for the journey. For them, it started as just another day at work. The journey from Three Bridges was largely uneventful, but as they travelled through South London, 3 fatal factors were converged on Bridge 799. Let's reconstruct the final moments. Many of the details mentioned have come directly from the report published by the HSC following the investigation into the derailment. As train 6 Yankee 56 approaches Bexley Station, it is travelling at a speed estimated between 51 and 59 miles per hour. Bear in mind, the speed limit for a heavy freight train in this section of line is just 40 miles per hour. The driver, unaware of the critical speed restriction rule, believes he is operating within a 50-mile-an-hour limit. To make things worse, his speedometer is 40, under-reading his actual speed. The train hurtles through Bexley Station and onto a short, straight section of track on Bridge 799, which crosses the busy Bexley High Street. As the immense weight of the locomotives and wagons hits the bridge, the driver suddenly feels what he describes as a small snatch, followed by a larger snatch. Instantly, the train's brakes apply automatically, a sure sign the train is broken apart. The trainman looks back out of his window and sees a terrifying sight. Dust billowing out from the rear of the train. Behind them, a disaster is unfolding. The track on the bridge, under the immense pounding force of the speeding, overloaded train, has finally given way. The rails have spread apart, and the rear wheel of the 12th wagon drops into the gap. It derails, initially remaining upright, tethered to the front of the train, but the force soon becomes too much and the train separates. The 13th wagon is thrown from the track, its bogies and body ripping apart. But for the final 6 wagons, there is nowhere to go but down. They veer violently to the left, plunging off the viaduct and crashing onto the industrial units and car park below, spilling their heavy loads of ballast as they fall. When the front portion of the train screeches to a halt nearly half a mile down the track, the crew look back to find their trains gone. As they walk back, the sound of sirens confirms their worst fears. The scene they found was one of utter devastation. Wagons were piled up like broken toys. One of the wagons had slammed into the side of a chemical firm, and the viaduct itself was shattered, with entire brick arches completely destroyed. And under the rubble, there were people. 4 members of the public who had been working in the arches were seriously injured, suffering cuts, bruises, and shock. The response from the emergency services was swift. In the days following the derailment, the wagons were craned out of the site, with repairs being made to the brick arches and rails. The line then reopened after 28 days. But as the dust finally settled, everyone had one question. How did this happen? A full investigation was launched by the Health and Safety Executive, or HSE, and what they uncovered was not a single point of failure, but a horrifying cascade of negligence. Failure number 1 was the track itself. The rails on Bridge 799 were supported by long wooden beams called wheel timbers. When investigators examined them, they found the timbers were rotten. A timber expert confirmed they were suffering from severe fungal decay, leaving them with very little mechanical strength. The fastenings holding down the rails in place had sunk up to 30mm into the soft, decayed wood. Some of the screws could be pulled out by hand. Worse still, the maintenance company knew all about it. Inspection reports going back a full year had flagged the timbers as needing urgent renewal and being in very bad condition. But the weak track was being subject to forces it was never designed to handle. The 12th wagon of the train, the one that derailed first, was weighed by investigators. Its maximum permitted gross weight was 102 tons. Its actual weight was measured at over 121 tons, a staggering 19 tons overloaded. The company responsible for loading, STRCL, had used a flawed calculation, severely underestimating the weight of the spoil being loaded into the wagons. The overloaded wagon hitting the rotting track might have been survivable at low speed, but the train was travelling at up to 59 miles per hour at a 40 mile per hour zone. The driver's lack of training meant he was unaware of the 2/3 rule, a restriction for freight trains on Railtrack's Southern Zone routes, along with the speedometer in his cab giving him a false reading, convincing him he was going slower than he actually was. The excessive speed generated immense dynamic forces, pushing the rails outwards on the already weak, rotten timbers until they finally snapped apart. A rotten track, an overloaded wagon, and a speeding driver. Any one of these was a serious safety risk. Together they created a disaster, but the investigation dug deeper and found the root cause was a complete and total failure of management. The maintenance contractor, Southeast Infrastructure Maintenance Company Limited, or SEIMCL, have received report after report warning them of the urgent danger of the rotting timber. They had even scheduled the replacement work for January 1997, just 1 month before the crash. But the report found that due to poor organisation and a breakdown in communication, no one actually arranged for the work to be done. The job simply fell through the cracks. Then there was Southern Track Renewals Company Limited, or STRCL, who had failed in its duty to ensure the wagons were loaded safely. And finally, there was Railtrack, the owner of the entire national railway network. The report states they had the ultimate responsibility for safety. Railtrack had a powerful tool for checking the network, a high-speed track recording coach, which measured the track for defects. 18 months prior to the accident, this coach had repeatedly flagged serious faults on Bridge 709. Railtrack had the data proving the track was unsafe, yet they failed to monitor their contractor and took no action to ensure the critical repairs were made. In September 1998, all three were prosecuted by the Health and Safety Executive. Railtrack, SEIMCL, and STRCL all pleaded guilty to failings to ensure the safety of the public. The judge imposed fines totaling £150,000. SEIMCL, for its direct maintenance failures, was fined the most at £82,500. STRCL, for the overloading, was fined £7,500. Then Railtrack, for its failures of oversight, was fined £60,000. In his sentencing remarks, the judge was clear. He stated that Railtrack has the overall responsibility of protecting the public from any failures of its contractors, and that it is clear that it failed to heed the warning. He concluded by saying, "It was merciful that nobody was killed." The Bexley Derailment was a preventable disaster, born from a culture of complacency and neglect. The event marked the start of a dark period of history for the UK's railways. Within a 7-year period, the nation's railways suffered some of the biggest incidents, as these systemic failures under Railtrack's watch led to further tragedies. These included the Ladbroke Grove, Hatfield and Potter's Bar incidents. Thankfully, lessons have, over time, been learned. The industry was forced to restructure and safety management was overhauled. But the story of Bexley serves as a powerful and permanent warning, a stark reminder that when it comes to railway safety, there are no cutting corners. Every single person, from the boardroom to the trackside, must play their part with vigilance and integrity to stop the repeats of history and the mayhem they can unleash. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please click the like button and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.